America. A beautiful land. A continent full of contrasts. Towering mountains and fertile prairies. Dense rainforests and rocky deserts. From all over the earth, people have come to this land. Different kinds of people coming for many different reasons, bringing their languages and customs, their skills and beliefs. Upon this land, many different cultures have met. Asian, African, European, Native American. Sometimes we have fought. Sometimes we have mingled. But in the encounters between cultures, a new society has been created. A society always changing, always redefining itself. For in many ways, what it means to be an American reflects the ever-changing mix of cultures and ideas that make up the American story. So who were the peoples that created today's America? Where did they come from? How did they live? 500 years ago, Europeans and Africans first met the native people of the Americas, beginning an exchange and interaction that would reshape the history of the world. Native Americans have many mythological stories about their origins. Some say the first people descended from homes in the sky. Others say they came up from other worlds beneath ours. But all of the stories establish a close connection between the land, the people, and other living things.
It's very important to live in relationship and harmony with the earth, with Mother Earth. In Apache, we use that word in our prayers, Nigusan Shema, which means Mother Earth.
From Mother Earth comes life. They consider their mountains sacred, and they consider their rivers sacred. They pay tribute to Mother Nature. They say, thank you for giving me the bounties of the earth.
Archaeologists believe that people first came to the Americas from northern Asia at least 20,000 years ago. The level of the world's oceans was lower then, and a land bridge connected Siberia and Alaska. Hunters following herds of bison, caribou, and mammoths crossed into North America. As people spread south over the two continents, these Stone Age hunter-gatherers encountered forests, deserts, mountains, and prairies. They adapted to each environment, creating many different cultures. No one knows for sure how many people lived in the Americas. Historians estimate that by the 15th century, there were anywhere from 20 million to as many as 100 million people. Numbers close to, or perhaps even greater than, the population of Europe. Hundreds of distinct Native American societies spoke at least 1,000 different languages. Most societies were ruled by men, but in many Native American societies, women held considerable power, and women chiefs were not uncommon.
In the traditional longhouse, the clan mothers, who were made up of the oldest mothers in the longhouse, were essentially the ruling body. And it was up to the clan mothers to decide who the chiefs would be. Even today, the women have the power and the authority to let their voices be heard. And they should be heard and listened to, adhered to.
Many Native societies were matriarchal. Family lineage was traced through women who also controlled personal property. There's a lot we don't know about Native American life before the 1500s. Few Native Americans left written records, and evidence about their lives has been lost or destroyed. Most of what we do know comes from archaeological evidence, from the oral traditions of modern Native Americans, and from the accounts of early European visitors to the Americas. We know that the heavily populated agricultural empires of Central and South America were technologically sophisticated and highly organized. In the central prairies and eastern woodlands of North America, tribes of hunter-gatherers lived off the bounty of the land. Men hunted and fished, while women grew a variety of crops. In the Southwest, the Pueblo peoples lived in cliffside villages, easily defended against attack. They grew cotton to spin cloth, and enough squash, beans, and corn to feed communities of 1,000 or more people. In the colder climes, where the growing seasons were too short for agriculture, Inuits, Eskimos, and other northern tribes relied on fish and game. Although their societies were very different, Native Americans shared many common beliefs and attitudes. Most Native Americans didn't have any concept of owning the land. Instead, they saw all of their relationships with other people and with the earth itself as reciprocal and mutually dependent.
Great Spirit made this good land, gave it to all of us to enjoy it in common. And no one man should claim, this is my land. We don't do that, they say.
It would be like trying to own a block of air. How do you do that? You know, it was a completely foreign concept. And it was a concept that was thrust upon us and created many problems for us.
Many Native Americans still believe that there is a spirit force in all things, in water, trees, and animals, as well as people. They didn't seek to rule their environment. They tried to fit into the natural order of creation. Across the Atlantic Ocean, the geography and peoples of West Africa were equally diverse. Below the Great Sahara, open grasslands and tropical rainforests spread out across the continent. On the southern edge of the Sahara were the nomadic Tuareg traders. Cattle and goat herders roamed the grasslands of sub-Saharan Africa. In the rainforests of southern equatorial Africa, the Bakongo Empire numbered in the millions.
Neither Native Americans nor Africans saw themselves as being superior to or ready to dominate the natural world. The natural world was a teammate rather than something to be subdued.
Men and women among the peoples of Lower Guinea each handled their own affairs, each governing over members of their own sex.
There are examples from West African history where women holding significant political power. Leaps to mind here be the Mali Empire, the Asante Federation, or the Dahomey people who are located along the Guinea coast near the mouth of the Niger River. In each of these places, women either exercised direct political control over their states or served, for example, in the military of the Dahomey people.
But life in West Africa was different in many ways from life in the Americas. Not only did West Africans have different crops and domesticated animals, they also lived in a world plagued by yellow fever, malaria, sleeping sickness, and other deadly diseases. Africans had for centuries followed earth-based religions, worshiping the spirits in the natural world around them. But beginning in the 9th century, a new religion appeared in West Africa, Islam.
Islam spread in its earliest years by war along the North African coast, but merchants brought it across the Sahara Desert in the process of their normal trading business, which took them to the large cities of the Sahel. Right? As a result, city dwellers in the Sahel were the first people to convert to Islam in West Africa.
In the year 1325, Mansa Musa, the Muslim king of Mali, stopped in Cairo on his pilgrimage to Mecca.
He set off in a caravan of his people, about 500 or 600 people, and walked right across the Sahara, carrying tons and tons of gold.
Mansa Musa gave away so much gold on this one trip that he collapsed the price of gold in Europe as well as North Africa. Stories of Mali's immense wealth spread throughout the Muslim world and Europe. The Muslim Empire of Mali grew rich from its control of the West African trade routes. Trading made the kingdoms of the West African savanna rich and powerful. From the forest peoples to the south, they obtained gold, ivory, cola nuts, and slaves. From the north came salt, cloth, tools, horses, and weapons from North Africa and Europe.
Trans-Saharan trade created an enormous amount of wealth that led to the foundation of several large cities in the Sahel, the most famous of which is Timbuktu, which by the 15th century possessed the Sangori Mosque, which was famous throughout the Muslim world, as well as a university, and was certainly known to Muslim merchants as the source of all the gold from West Africa.
These African kingdoms also expanded their wealth by raiding small non-Muslim villages on their borders. Soldiers forced people to pay tribute and carried away others to sell or work as slaves.
The reason why middlemen in the Saharan trade didn't want anybody to know what was going on at either end of their trade routes was because they feared competition, in particular from perhaps a more heavily armed ruler of some state who decided to go and monopolize the sources of the gold for themselves.